What if everything you've been taught about the most famous prophecy in the Bible is incomplete? What if the terrifying symbols of the end times are not just images of a distant future, but are actually a precise historical and spiritual diagnosis of the age we are living in right now? For centuries, the Church has pointed to Revelation chapter 6 and the Four Horsemen as the ultimate symbols of a coming apocalypse. But today, we are going to ask a dangerous, paradigm-shattering question. What if the Four Horsemen of the apocalypse have already been released? And more importantly, what if you and I are living in the world they have created? This is not a common Bible study. This is an investigation into a biblical silence so profound and a pattern of evidence so consistent that it will change how you read Scripture, how you see history, and how you understand your place within it. To understand how radical this question is, we must first acknowledge the central, glaring contradiction in the standard interpretation of Revelation chapter 6. The text of Revelation 6:1-8 presents the Lamb, Jesus Christ, opening the first four seals of the scroll. As each seal breaks, one of four living creatures shouts, "Come," and a horseman rides forth. We see the white horse of conquest, the red horse of war, the black horse of famine, and the pale horse of death. The traditional, futurist view is unequivocal. These are events that will occur in a short, catastrophic period, just before Christ's physical return. They are the beginning of the Great Tribulation. But here is the contradiction that cracks that interpretation wide open. The book of Revelation itself never states when the seals are opened. The text provides no chronological anchor. It simply shows us the Lamb, who is worthy, taking the scroll and opening its seals. The dramatic sequence is presented, but the moment of initiation is left in prophetic silence. This silence is our first clue. If the Lamb became worthy through his death and resurrection, as Revelation 5-9 declares, then when did he take the scroll? Theologians like the early church father Irenaeus, in his work against heresies, argued that Christ received all authority at his ascension. This means the scroll was in his hand in the first century. So we are faced with a paradox. We have a Lamb who is worthy and holding the scroll, and we have a sequence of seals being opened. But we have inserted a 2,000-year gap between the worthy Lamb and his first act of opening. The text does not support that gap. It is an assumption, a tradition. And this tradition forces us to see these horsemen as purely future, disconnected from 2 millennia of church history stained by conquest, war, famine, and death. But what if the text intends no such disconnect? What if the opening of the seals began when the Lamb took the scroll? This changes everything. It means the horsemen have been riding for centuries, and we need to learn to recognize their hoofbeats in our own time. Now, I know the immediate objection. The imagery is too apocalyptic, too catastrophic. It must be about the final end of the world. This is a powerful argument, and it's held by many sincere scholars. They point to the parallel in Matthew 24, where Jesus speaks of wars, famines, and earthquakes as the beginning of birth pains. Surely, they say, the horsemen match this, and Jesus was speaking of the end. But this is where we must do the hard work of investigation. Let's first refute this by examining the nature of apocalyptic literature itself. The book of Revelation, or the Apocalypse of John, is written in a symbolic, visionary style meant to reveal spiritual realities behind historical events. It is not a strict, linear timeline. Even the futurist scholar Robert Elec Thomas, in his commentary, admits the seals may represent divine perspectives on history rather than consecutive historical events. So the door is already open for a non-futurist reading. Now, let's investigate the first and most crucial horseman, the rider on the white horse. Revelation 6:2 says, "I looked, and behold, a white horse, and its rider had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he came out conquering, and to conquer." The popular end times view identifies this rider as the Antichrist, a false messiah who brings deceptive peace. But let's examine the Greek text. The word for crown here is stephanos, a victor's wreath, a crown of conquest. This is distinct from diadema, the crown of a monarch. This rider is a conqueror. And who else in Revelation rides a white horse? Look at Revelation 19:11. It is Christ himself, called faithful and true, who judges and makes war. His robe is dipped in blood, and from his mouth comes a sharp sword. The imagery is of final judgment, but the horseman of chapter 6 has a bow, not a sword from his mouth. They are not the same figure. So if it's not the Antichrist, And it's not the returning Christ. Who is it? We need to look for a conquering force released into the world after Christ's ascension. This leads us to a stunning parallel that most commentaries mention but then dismiss. In Zechariah chapter 1, the prophet sees a vision of horsemen who patrol the earth. Zechariah 1:8-10 describes a man on a red horse among myrtle trees, with behind him red, sorrel, and white horses. These are divine patrols, sent throughout the earth. Then, in Zechariah 6:1-8, we see 4 chariots with horses of red, black, white, and dappled grey, coming out from between 2 bronze mountains. These are explicitly called the 4 winds of heaven in Zechariah 6-5, and they are sent to patrol the earth. The connection to Revelations for horsemen is undeniable. And what is the context in Zechariah? It is a post-exilic prophecy about God's sovereignty over the nations and the rebuilding of the temple. It is about God's spiritual agents executing judgment in history. This is our credibility anchor. The Old Testament typology shows us that divine horsemen are agents of God's historical judgment, not solely end-time cataclysms. So the first natural objection that the imagery is too extreme for history is preemptively answered by Scripture itself. The Bible provides the template for understanding these riders as spiritual forces operating within human history. The question is not if they ride, but when did their ride begin? This brings us to the first micro-twist, the overlooked evidence that dismantles the futurist timeline. It is found in the most ignored detail of Revelation chapter 5. Before any seal is opened, a cosmic declaration is made. Revelation 5:5 states that the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has conquered, so that he can open the scroll. The Greek word for has conquered is enikēsen, a past tense, aorist verb. It is completed action. Christ's conquest, achieved through his death and resurrection, is the prerequisite for opening the seals. The scroll's opening is the outworking, the administration of that finished victory. Now watch the sequence. In Revelation 5:9-10, the living creatures and elders sing a new song. Worthy are you to take the scroll and to open its seals, for you were slain, and by your blood you ransomed people for God from every tribe and language and people and nation. The scroll is about the implementation of that ransom. Then, without any temporal marker, chapter 6 begins. Now I watched when the Lamb opened one of the 7 seals. The textual flow is immediate. The logical implication, supported by early interpreters like Victorinus of Pettau in the 3rd century, is that the opening of the seals commenced at Christ's ascension. He took the scroll, and he began to open it. This means the first seal was opened in the 1st century. Now, who is the first rider? A conqueror with a bow and a victor's crown. Consider the historical context of the early church. What conquering force, with a crown, went forth from Jerusalem after Christ's ascension? The answer is in the Great Commission itself. Matthew 28:18-19. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations. The gospel is a conquering message. The early church father Irenaeus saw the white horse as the triumphant spread of the gospel. But there's a darker dimension. The bow was the primary weapon of the Parthian Empire, Rome's great eastern enemy. It symbolized military conquest. Could this rider represent both the conquering gospel and the conquering empires that would shape the world in which the gospel spread? This is the dual nature of the first seal, the release of a conquering principle into the world. The gospel went forth to conquer hearts, and simultaneously, the Roman Empire consolidated its power, creating the Pax Romana, a false peace built on conquest. This is the overlooked evidence. The first horseman is not a single person, but a spiritual reality, the spirit of conquest, both holy and profane, released into the earth. And if the first seal was opened in the 1st century, then by the internal logic of the text, so were the next 3. Pause and consider the weight of this. It means the world has been under the direct, sequential administration of these 4 forces for nearly 2 millennia. We are not waiting for the apocalypse to begin. We are living within its unfolding process. This redefines our entire relationship with history, suffering, and prophecy. Before we go further, if this investigation is already shifting how you see Scripture, take a second to like this video and subscribe. What comes next is where we connect this ancient release to the specific crises of our modern world, and the evidence becomes truly staggering. With the first seal established in the 1st century, we must now trace the riders through history. This leads to the second, game-changing twist. The 4 horsemen are not just past events, but they represent for perpetual, intensifying spirits that are unleashed and active in every generation, including our own. Their release was a singular event, but their riding is continuous. Let's examine the second horseman, the red horse of war. Revelation 6:4 says, "And out came another horse, bright red. Its rider was permitted to take peace from the earth, so that people should slay one another. And he was given a great sword." The Greek word for slay here is phas, the same word used for the slaughter of the lamb. It implies violent, bloody death. Has peace been taken from the earth since the 1st century? Look at the historical record. From the Jewish-Roman wars and the fall of Jerusalem in 70 AD, to the endless conflicts of empires, to the world wars of the 20th century, to the conflicts raging today, the spirit of war, the taking of peace, has been a constant. This is not a future event. It is the grim story of human history under the second seal. Now, the third horseman, the black horse of famine. Revelation 6:5-6 depicts a rider with scales, announcing inflated prices for basic food. Famines have plagued humanity consistently. The early church historian Eusebius records a severe famine during the reign of Claudius. Jesus himself predicted famines in Matthew 24:7 as part of the beginning of birth pains. These are historical realities, not merely future ones. But here is the unexpected connection that reframes everything. The key is in the pale horse, the fourth rider. His name is Death, and Hades follows him. They are given authority over a fourth of the earth. This is the second major objection. If this happened in the past, where was a historical event that killed a quarter of the world? This seems to demand a future global catastrophe. But we must examine the Greek word for earthgy. It can mean the land, the world, or a specific region. In prophetic context, it often refers to the known world of the biblical narrative, the Roman Empire. Historical demographers estimate the population of the Roman Empire at its height was around 60 million. The Antonine Plague in the 2nd century AD, followed by the Plague of Cyprian in the 3rd century, are estimated to have killed millions, potentially a quarter of the empire's population. These plagues, combined with constant war and famine, created a perfect storm of death. The early church saw these events as fulfillments of prophecy. This is the twist. The Four Horsemen are not separate, discrete events, but a synergistic system. Conquest leads to war. War disrupts agriculture, leading to famine, and famine and pestilence led to mass death. They feed each other. This system was unleashed in the 1st century and has been operating ever since. The fourth of the earth may have had a historical fulfillment in the Roman world, but the principle continues. In the 14th century, the Black Death killed an estimated third of Europe. In the 20th century, the 2 world wars and the Spanish flu pandemic created a similar confluence of the horsemen's domains. We are seeing it today. The spirit of conquest, ideological, economic, digital, the taking of peace from nation after nation, supply chain crises and economic imbalances that threaten famine, and a world freshly scarred by a global pandemic. The horsemen are not coming, they are here. Their release was a past event. Their riding is the present condition of a world under judgment and awaiting redemption. So what is the definitive resolution? The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse were released when the ascended Christ, the worthy Lamb, began to open the seals of God's redemptive plan. They represent the judicial consequences of sin and the birth pains of a new creation, set in motion by the gospel itself. This is the productive anticlimax. Understanding this does not give us a date for the end, but it gives us a lens to interpret our present. It means the Great Tribulation is not a short future period, but the entire church age, as described by Jesus in John 16:33. In the world, you will have tribulation. Our call is not to hide in fear of a future Antichrist, but to discern the spirits of our age, the spirits of conquest, war, famine, and death, and to actively oppose them with the gospel of the true conqueror, the Prince of Peace, the bread of life, and the resurrection and the life. You are part of a group that perceives this. While the world sees only random chaos, you can see the unfolding of a divine narrative. Your identity shifts from passive end-time spectator to active, discerning participant in the greatest spiritual conflict in history. Your faith is not about escaping this world, but about overcoming it, just as the Lamb overcame. So the viral question you must carry with you is this. If the 4 horsemen have been riding through history since the 1st century, what specific spirit are you called to confront with the power of Christ in your generation? If this changed how you read Revelation, drop a comment below. Tell me, which of the 4 spirits do you see most active in our world today? Share this with someone who needs to see history through this prophetic lens. And subscribe, because what we uncover next will go even deeper into how to live faithfully in the age of the open seals.